lecture, we started with a new chapter called Biotechnology, Principles and Processes. In lecture number 1, we discussed introduction to the chapter. We discussed about the discoveries done by two eminent scientists. Their names are Stanley Cohen and Herbert Boyer, right? So, our previous class is about two scientists. What are their names? Stanley Cohen with Herbert Boyer, right? Stanley Cohen with another scientist. What's the name of the other scientist? His name is Herbert Boyer, right? So these two scientists are the pillars for biotechnology, we can say. Now coming to biotechnology, what is biotechnology? It is not a classical science. It is a modern science. It's a modern area of biotechnology where we are using the biological knowledge merged with technology, right? And then who coined the term biotechnology? The term biotechnology is coined by a scientist called Karl Erke in the year 1919. So write down the term biotechnology. The term biotechnology was coined by, who coined it? I told was coined by Karl Erke in the year 1990. And who is considered as father of biotechnology or father of genetic engineering means there's another scientist. His name is Paul Berg. Now what did he do so that he became the father of genetic engineering or father of biotechnology means, what is biotechnology? All about biotechnology is manipulating the genes, modifying the genes. That is why we call it as a genetic engineering. Now this scientist Paul Berg, what did he do means, he has taken a viral DNA. From simian virus, he took a DNA. He wants to send this viral DNA into the bacteria, into the E. coli he wants to send. If you want to send anything into a host organism like E. coli, you just can't drop it inside the bacteria. You need to send it through a vector. For example, if I have to go to my college, I'll take a bike and then I'll go. So, bike is taking me from my home to the college. In the same manner here also, if you want to send any DNA into the host means you need a vector. This person is the first person, he used lambda bacteriophage as a vector to send a viral DNA, simian virus DNA into the E. coli. He is the first person who did the important discovery. So that's why he is considered as the father of genetic engineering or biotechnology. Let us write on. So, Paul Berg. Okay. So, who is he? He is considered as father of genetic engineering, or we can call him as a father of biotechnology. Father of biotechnology. What is his discovery? I told you he's transferred a gene of simian virus 40. He transferred SV40 gene. What is SV40? Simian virus it is. From simian virus gene, simian virus gene, he transferred the simian virus gene into E. coli. What is E. coli? E. coli is a host. This simian virus 40 gene, what is it? It is a foreign gene. What is it? It is a foreign DNA. You know this foreign DNA, you can use many words here. You can call it as a foreign DNA. You can call it as a gene of interest also. You can call it as a gene of interest also, or we can call it as desired DNA. It's our desired DNA which we want to send it into the host, or you can call it as an alien DNA also. We can also call it as an alien DNA. All these are the synonyms, right? So, you can call it as a foreign DNA, you can call it as gene of interest, you can call it as a desirable DNA, or alien DNA was sent into E. coli through a vector, was sent into E. coli through lambda phase, through a virus called lambda bacteriophage. Now here the lambda bacteriophage acted like a vector. It acted like a vector. This is the desired DNA. This acted as a vector to send this gene into this host. So this is the concept. He is the first person to construct it. So that's why he is called as father of genetic engineering or father of biotechnology. And the term biotechnology was coined by Karl Lerke in the year 1990. It is not a news, it's not an old biotechnology technique. We tell it is a modern technique. It's a mixture, right? It's a, what is that? It's a combination of biological science with technology, we will tell. Now, if we have to give the definition of biotechnology, we can tell that biotechnology deals with techniques, right? Technology means techniques only. So, we can tell biotechnology deals with techniques of using. What are you using? Are you using live organisms? Of using live organisms. Sometimes we use enzymes extracted from the organisms. Why are you using? To produce products and processes which are useful for man. So, that person, French philosopher, already told everything is anthropocentric. So, here also biotechnology deals with the techniques of using live organisms or the enzymes isolated from the organisms to produce products and processes useful to the human. This is the definition of biotechnology. Now, we can tell that biotechnology deals with use of live organisms or enzymes isolated, or enzymes from organisms. We can tell, we know that enzymes are isolated only, or enzymes from organisms. Okay, so using a live organism or using enzyme of live organism for producing, what are you producing? For producing products and processes, producing products and processes which are useful to the man, which are useful to human. So this is the definition of biotechnology. Now, when you take this as a definition, then in this sense, making curd, making bread, making wine, which are also micro-mediated processes, will also come under biotechnology. Now, taking this as a definition, we can tell that. So, in this sense then, making curd and then making bread, making wine. Now, making curd, making bread, making wine, all these which are also micro-mediated processes, right? Which are also microbe-mediated processes. These are also microbe-mediated processes. Why? Because in making curd, we use a bacteria called lactobacilli. In making bread, we use yeast, which is called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. In making wine, we use another yeast, Saccharomyces ellipsoidens. Okay, so for making curd, we use lactobacilli. For making bread and wine, we use yeast. So, Saccharomyces cerevisiae is also an yeast. Saccharomyces ellipsoidens is also an yeast. So, which are microbes only. So, if you take that using microorganisms, if it is biotechnology, then making curd, bread, wine are also biotechnology, people tell. So, which are also micro-mediated processes are also biotechnology processes then. They tell that they are also biotechnology then. But then we tell this comes under classical biotechnology or old biotechnology. So, all this comes under, they tell it is classical biotechnology or call it as old biotechnology. Whereas, in modern biotechnology, we can tell modern biotechnology uses, it will not use the microorganisms which are there in the nature as such. Modern biotechnology is used in a restricted sense, means they are using genetically modified organisms. Okay, so modern biotechnology is used in restricted sense. We tell that modern biotechnology is used in restricted sense as it uses, what are you using? Genetically modified organisms, GEMS we tell, GMOs we tell. What do you mean by GMO? Genetically modified organisms we will use, not the wild organisms which are there as such in the nature. We'll manipulate the genes in the organisms. They are called as, we use genetically modified organisms to achieve the same, but on a large scale. To achieve the same on a large scale. Understood? Understood. Then you should call it as a modern biotechnology. Then you should call it as a modern biotechnology. For example, I can give an example to tell you what is classical biotechnology and what is modern biotechnology. Now, penicillin is an antibiotic extracted by Alexander Fleming, right? It's the first antibiotic to be discovered from a fungus called Penicillium notatum. We have studied in the schooling, we studied, right? The first antibiotic to be discovered is penicillin by a scientist called Alexander Fleming from a fungus, from a mold called Penicillium notatum. So from a wild organism he prepared a penicillin. That is classical biotechnology or old biotechnology. But nowadays also we extract penicillin, but it is not from that traditional wild microorganism, fungus called Penicillium notatum. Later, after biotechnology came, scientists came to know that Penicillium notatum will give very little yield of penicillin. So if you want to produce in large scale, then they came to know that there's one more species called Penicillium chrysogenum. This chrysogenum can give more yield. They came to know that, and then they already have biotechnology in their hand. They can manipulate the genes. Then they produced a mutant variety of that chrysogenum, and that mutant variety, the industrial strain, is called as Penicillium chrysogenum, GENUM, Penicillium chrysogenum. Penicillium chrysogenum, it is NRRL 1951. So this is an industrial strain, I'll tell. This is an industrial strain. Whereas Penicillium notatum is a classical strain. Penicillium notatum, it's a wild strain. From there he extracted it. But nowadays what penicillin we are extracting is a biotechnological product, because we are not using the wild fungus. We have mutated it and we produced a genetically modified fungus. Its name is Penicillium chrysogenum, NRRL 1951, which can give us large scale yield. Now come on, tell me, then that is classical biotechnology or modern biotechnology? You agreed? It is modern biotechnology. Understood? Now, not only this, they tell that biotechnology has many more applications. Take a screenshot, then we'll talk about that. Right. Now, if you have to discuss the other parts, the other applications of biotechnology, what are those? Even the modern biotechnology claims that IVF-ET, test tube baby production, also involves biotechnology. Artificial synthesis of gene was done by Hargovind Khurana, also involves biotechnology. Correcting a gene therapy we call, also involves biotechnology. Now, preparing rDNA vaccines, which are safer vaccines, also involves biotechnology. So, people tell that all these are also the parts of biotechnology. Let us write down. What are they? First one, IVF-ET. We can simply call it as test tube baby production. IVF-ET, which is called as test tube baby production. In vitro fertilization embryo transfer. What is IVF-ET? In vitro fertilization. In vivo means inside the body, in vitro means outside, in the lab, in the test tube. So we do the fusion of sperm and egg in the lab, in the test tube. So that's why the name came test tube baby. In vitro fertilization followed by embryo transfer. In 8 to 16 or 32, 64 cell stage, we will transfer the embryo into the uterus. So in vitro fertilization followed by embryo transfer. Also uses biotechnological techniques. Then after IVF-ET we can tell artificial gene synthesis also uses biotechnology. Artificial gene synthesis. Hargovind Khurana has done this artificial synthesis of DNA. Also involves biotechnology. Then DNA vaccine production also involves biotechnology. So modern vaccines are DNA vaccines, which are very safer because they don't use the microorganism. So earlier vaccines, the traditional vaccines are heat killed vaccines, attenuated vaccines where the pathogen is still there. Either it is inactivated or it is killed. But if the people doesn't kill the vaccine properly, then the person might have a threat of getting the disease also. Whereas this one, RDNA vaccines are safer. Why? Because we don't use the organism. It's again by biotechnology. And then correcting a defective gene is also part of biotechnology. Correcting the defective gene. All these are parts of biotechnology only, they will tell. Now we'll study a disorder. What is that disorder called? SCID. Now what is SCID? Severe combined immunodeficiency disorder. What is SCID? SCID stands for severe combined immunodeficiency disorder it is. Okay, severe immunodeficiency is due to the defect of a gene. It is a defective gene. Now there is a defective gene because of which, because since the gene is defective, enzyme is not made, because enzymes are proteins, proteins are made from genes. So an enzyme called ADA is not synthesized. ADA stands for adenosine deaminase, came in the NEET examination. ADA stands for adenosine deaminase enzyme. So ADA stands for an enzyme called adenosine deaminase. What is the role of this enzyme? This enzyme is required for maturation of T and B. For B and T lymphocytes. So what am I telling? I am telling that this enzyme is required for maturation of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. If the enzyme is not there, T lymphocytes are not matured, that means antibodies cannot be made. B lymphocytes are not matured, then immunocompetent cells also cannot be made. Then no immune cell, then person will get immunodeficiency. You know what is the disorder called? Severe combined immunodeficiency disorder. We can do gene therapy and correct this, which comes under biotechnology. We'll see it in chapter number 12. So they tell that all these are also parts of biotechnology only. Then there is an organization. What's the name of the organization? EFB stands for European Federation of Biotechnology. You know, European Federation of Biotechnology, these people have encompassed both the traditional views and the modern views of biotechnology, and they have given the definition of biotechnology. What they have done? They have encompassed both the traditional views, they have encompassed both the traditional views and the modern molecular biological views or techniques into consideration. These people have taken the traditional aspect also and the modern aspect also to give the definition of biotechnology. Let us see what is the definition of biotechnology. So they tell that it is an integration of natural science. Of course, it is botany and zoology, right? So they tell it's an integration of natural science, the organisms, or might be the cells, might be the parts, or sometimes the molecular analog also, for obtaining the products and processes for humans. What's the definition they have given? It's an integration of natural science and organisms or cells or parts thereof or molecular analogs for obtaining products and processes for humans. Write down the definition given by EFB. It is the integration. It is the integration of natural science. It is the integration of natural science and the cells or parts thereof, or we use the cell, or we use their parts, or we use molecular analogs. Molecular analogs. We use molecular analogs to obtain products and services for products and processes for whom? For human. This is the definition of EFB for biotechnology, to obtain products and process, or we can tell products and services we can tell. That's it, children. So this is a definition of biotechnology. So what did we discuss so far? We have seen who coined the term biotechnology. It's Karl Lerke. Who is father of biotechnology? Paul Berg is father of biotechnology because he introduced a viral DNA into a host called E. coli with the help of a vector called lambda phage that we understood. Then we came to know what's the definition of biotechnology. Then we give a normal definition. Then people are telling that making curd also, making wine also, making bread is also biotechnology. Then this EFB has taken that traditional view also and modern biotechnological view also into an aspect, and then they have given a collective definition for biotechnology. But then we tell modern biotechnology is used in restricted sense. They use only genetically modified organisms. They don't use the natural organisms, we tell, right? So then what are all the other parts of biotechnology means? We have listed down 4 here. IVF, ET, test tube baby production is also biotechnological application. Artificial gene synthesis is also biotechnological application. Preparing DNA vaccines which are more safer is also biotechnological application. Correcting the defective gene. For that I took an example. There's a disease called severe combined immunodeficiency disorder, which is due to the deficiency of a gene. That gene is defective. So this enzyme cannot be made. What is the name of the enzyme? Adenosine deaminase, which helps in maturation of B and T lymphocytes. If T and B lymphocytes are not made, immune cells are not there, which leads to deficiency. Then this is the definition of biotechnology. Quickly take a screenshot. Then we'll talk about the principles of biotechnology. Right. So when we have to talk about the principles of biotechnology, so there are many. Among many, the 2 core techniques which are used in all the steps are, one is genetic engineering and the second one will be chemical engineering. So when we have to tell about the principles and processes, no, so when we have to talk about the principles of biotechnology is the next topic. So we can tell that among many, the 2 core techniques are, one is genetic engineering, the second one is chemical engineering. What is genetic engineering? Now, when we go to a civil engineer asking for a plan, so since he has an experience of constructing many, so out of his experience, he'll give us a better plan to the required area, right? So in the same manner, genetic engineer, what they will do, they'll manipulate the genes in an efficient manner so that the genes are expressed more, so that your desirable product will be in large scale. So manipulating the gene, let it be DNA as genetic material or RNA as genetic material, when you manipulate the gene, that is genetic engineering. And you will manipulate it outside and you'll leave it like that, or we need to send it into the host. Yeah, we need to send it into the host. So send it into the host, then this host's phenotypic expression got changed. The host phenotypic expression gets changed because you introduce something new into it. All that comes under genetic engineering. Now the second core technique is called chemical engineering. Okay, you got a bacteria in which some new gene you kept it is there. You're happy with this one bacteria, or you want such type of bacteria in large scale? Yeah, we need this also. Then how can you do it? By bioprocessing engineering or chemical engineering, where we'll take a big bioreactor. In that we'll maintain all the sterile, ambient, contamination free conditions. Whatever bacteria's requirements are there, it wants food, yeah, we'll provide. It wants optimal temperature, yeah, we will maintain. Optimal pH, we will maintain. Aeration, we will maintain. Agitation mixing, that we'll maintain. We'll provide all the ambient conditions which are required, so that the organism multiplies and it starts giving us large number of the desirable product. It can be antibiotic, it can be vaccine, or it can be enzyme also. So children, these two are the two core techniques of biotechnology. Shall we write down? So what are the two core principles of biotechnology? We can tell among many, the two core, important, core means the two core techniques are, I told, one is genetic engineering, the other one is chemical engineering, or you can call it as bioprocessing engineering. Now let us see what is genetic engineering, what is bioprocessing engineering. The first one we are telling it is genetic engineering. Now we say that genetic engineering means it is the technique to alter the chemistry of the genetic material. Let it be DNA or RNA. Are we manipulating it? Yes. So what is genetic engineering? It is a technique to change the genetic material. It is a technique to change the genetic material. We will change the genetic material. Let it be DNA or RNA. We'll change the genetic material, then will you leave it outside, or you have to introduce into the host, and to be introduced into the host, and introduce it into host. Now if you send anything new into an organism, what will happen? Change the phenotype of the host, right? So the host expression will change, and change the phenotypic expression. Change the phenotypic expression of the host. All this is part of genetic engineering. Altering the genetic material, giving it to the host, and changing the host together comes under genetic engineering. Now you got a bacteria in which you have introduced the DNA, and this bacteria's phenotypic expression got changed. Now we want it in large scale, we told. For that you need to go with chemical engineering. So the second technique will be chemical engineering. So I told you what we need to do in chemical engineering. Maintain sterile conditions, maintenance of sterile ambient conditions. Maintenance of sterile ambient conditions. What do you mean by sterile ambient conditions? Like providing nutrients, we need to provide nutrients, providing aeration, then providing mixing up, which is called agitation, and maintain optimal temperature, pH, all these things. So when we provide optimal conditions, when we provide all these optimal conditions, then what happens? It enables the growth of the desired organisms, which enables the growth of desired organism, which enables the growth of desired organism in large scale, right? So you'll get the desired organism in large quantity. In large quantity. What are your desired products? It can be an antibiotic, it can be a vaccine, it can be an enzyme also. So children, these two are the main core principles of biotechnology. Quickly take a screenshot. Right. Now, when we talk about asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, what do we say? Which one is better in terms of creating variations? Genetic engineering means engineering the genes, modifying the genes. Now, if I ask you, asexual reproduction will give us modifications or variations, or sexual reproduction will give us variations. So, my answer will be sexual reproduction, right? So, we tell that there are two types of reproductions. One is asexual reproduction, other one is sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, since only one parent is involved, it preserves the genetic information as it is, it conserves. Whereas sexual reproduction, since two parents are involved, gametes are made, gametic fusion happens, it gives us chance for variations, and variations are required. They are the raw materials for evolution. In genetic engineering also, we need to bring variations in the genetic material, right? So, there are two types of reproductions we can tell. One is asexual reproduction and the second one will be sexual reproduction. Now, we tell that in asexual reproduction, so what is that? The genetic information is conserved. It's not altered, no, we can tell it's conserved, preserved. Why it is preserved? Since only one parent is involved. Since only one parent is involved here. Whereas coming to sexual reproduction, we tell here it causes, what will sexual reproduction cause? It permits variations, right? It permits variations. It permits variations, and what are variations? Variations are the raw materials for evolution. They are raw materials for evolution. So, how are variations possible? Because two parents are required. We can tell since two parents are involved here. Since two parents are involved here, the offsprings don't resemble both of the parents 100%, right? So, new variations will come. So, we prefer sexual reproductions. We tell sexual reproductions are advantageous than asexual reproduction. So, our conclusion is sexual reproduction is advantageous than asexual one. Now, when we talk about traditional hybridization experiments, in plant breeding also, in animal breeding also. Now, when we take two different parents and when we fuse them to get a hybrid, so when you want one, what is that? One character from this parent, one superior character from this parent P1, one superior character from this parent P1. So, we will tell like conventional hybridization experiment. Conventional hybridization experiments are used. When do we use conventional hybridization experiments? during plant breeding and animal breeding. During plant breeding and animal breeding. If you see there, I'll show it on the board. So when we take two different parents called P1 and P2, from P1 we want one beneficial character. From P2 also we want one beneficial character. So whereas it has one beneficial character, it has many unwanted characters. It has many unwanted characters here. Whereas P2 also, it has many unwanted characters. Now, when you do hybridization between P1 and P2, and when you get a hybrid called H1, so there is possibility of getting both the beneficial characters into the hybrid. There is equal possibility of getting the unwanted characters also into the hybrid. Do you agree to this? We tell that in conventional hybridization experiments which are used in plant breeding and animal breeding, so they are equal possibilities of getting hybrids with beneficial characters, of getting hybrids with unwanted characters also. So then it is tedious, then you have to eliminate all those things, time is wasted, money is wasted. So conventional hybridization experiments used in plant breeding and animal breeding will produce hybrids with desirable combinations. It will produce hybrid with desirable combinations as well as undesirable combinations also. Whereas if you come to biotechnology, where we are cutting the gene, we are introducing into the vector, we are introducing into the host, we are doing the gene cloning. So where we are involved everywhere, we are checking at each and single step. So unwanted production, unwanted recombinants are not obtained, while we can tell in gene cloning, or in rDNA technology. Compared to this, the other technique is gene cloning or rDNA technology, where the desired DNA is isolated. We are isolating, specifically we are isolating the desired DNA and introducing it into vector, then into host, and doing cloning. Eliminates this thing, will eliminate unwanted combinations. Means here you are agreeing that biotechnology is far better than the traditional hybridization experiments. After that, in NCERT, there's a para, they will tell there's a bacteria, into the bacteria, take a screenshot fast, we'll talk. Right. Into the bacteria, if we try to send an alien DNA, what is the fate of that foreign DNA in the new host is the question. So there's a para in which they are asking us, what is the fate of the alien DNA? This is a bacterial cell. This is its chromosome. These are its plasmids DNA, into which we introduced foreign DNA. So they are asking us, what is the fate of this alien DNA? What is the fate of alien DNA in host is the question. Now, there are two possibilities. First, the host identifies this as a foreign particle and it cleaves it off. The first possibility, host will destroy it. Host will destroy it, considering it as a foreign particle. Isn't it? This is one possibility. The other possibility is the alien DNA is not multiplied. So at one corner, alien DNA will stay like that. Another possibility is the alien DNA cannot multiply in the host cell. The alien DNA cannot multiply in the host cell. Why? We sent it, no? Why is not able to multiply in the host cell? So the reason is again 2. The alien DNA is not having a region called origin of replication to get replicated, right? So one reason is the alien DNA is not having Ori site. What do you mean by Ori site? Origin of replication, from where the replication starts. Since the alien DNA is not having origin of replication site, so the alien DNA doesn't have the Ori site. And the second possibility is alien DNA is not the part of bacterial chromosome, is the other one. Since it doesn't have Ori site, it is not getting replicated. Or since it is not the part of the bacterial chromosome, for that reason also it will not get replicated. Now, after coming to know that, like if it is the part of the bacterial chromosome, then your foreign DNA gets replicated. What will we do? So we will try to introduce the foreign DNA into the bacterial chromosome. We'll try to introduce the foreign DNA into the genomic DNA, which is having, this genomic DNA has Ori site, and these are plasmids. They will also have their Ori sites. So when you introduce your desired DNA either into a plasmid which is having Ori site or into a genomic DNA which is also having Ori site, then the desired DNA gets multiplied. It will be cloned and it will be even passed on to its progeny. So if you give it like that, it's not passed on to the progeny. But the other possibility they are telling, if you send it into the bacterial chromosome, or if you send it into the extra chromosome like plasmid, this is also having Ori site, this is also having Ori site, genomic DNA is also having Ori site. If you give it into the plasmid DNA or into the genomic DNA which are having Ori sites, it gets multiplied, and even it will be expressed in the progeny cells also, the daughter cells also it is expressed. Now in the progeny, this is a bacterial chromosome and these are plasmid molecules, right? Now your DNA, what you have given, is there in the progeny cells also, in the genomic DNA also, in the extragenomic DNA also. So this is what is our understanding, and this technique is called as gene cloning. You are cloning your gene. Here you have only 2 copies. Here you are having 4 copies. So this is what is called as gene cloning and is also called as genetic engineering. Is also called as rDNA technology. Is also called as biotechnology. So this is all about today's lecture. In next lecture, we'll talk about the scientists Cohen and Boyer. What was their first recombinant DNA molecule, and what are the 3 basic steps of genetically modifying organisms, and then we'll talk about the tools of rDNA technology. In today's lecture, we discussed who coined the term, what is the definition, what are the 2 core techniques, and how is sexual reproduction advantageous than asexual reproduction, and what is the disadvantage of traditional hybridization, and we discussed what is the fate of the alien DNA when you try to introduce it as such, and what is an advantage if you try to insert it into the chromosomal DNA or extra chromosomal DNA. If you like the lectures, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.